Good evening, everyone. This is North Shore Preparedness coming to you from the giving shores of Lake Ontario. Today is Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020, and it's been an absolutely beautiful day. Not too hot, it was somewhere around, I don't know, I guess 26 or 25 degrees, with a nice, steady, cool breeze. Somewhere around 79 or 80 for my American brothers and sisters. So we had an absolutely great and productive day at work. I got home. I thought, okay, well, we got more work to do. I had a great harvest of tomatoes from my garden yesterday, most of which I've already got processed. I'm here processing some more now that weren't quite ready yesterday, and they're good to go now. So I've got a bunch done, and I've got one more jar to do. So I thought I'd take the time to show you guys exactly what I'm doing. Now, you don't need much for this recipe slash method. Of course, you need tomatoes. You're going to need your jars, your rings and flats in some hot water. Your jar picker. You're going to need some fresh leaves of basil out of the garden. You're also going to need some Mediterranean sea salt. Now, this is the non-iodized variety. No iodine, please, in any of my canning. Thank you ever so much. You're going to need a strainer and a couple of bowls. You're going to need your jar lifter, things like that. Yeah, I've had an absolutely fantastic harvest of tomatoes. These are some that aren't quite ripe enough yet to process. Like, look at these. Look at what I'm getting for tomatoes out of my garden. These plums or Romas or whichever they are. There's also a couple of paste tomatoes in through here. Now they have a bit of a different shape. You can see the difference in the shape between the two. Your plum or your Roma will look more like that, and then your paste tomato will be a little bit more oblong. And these ones here are significantly more dry. There's significantly less water in these paste tomatoes than there is in these your plums or your Romas. I guess they designed it that way because they didn't want to render all the water out of tomatoes to make paste with, so they made tomatoes with less water in it. That's one of the things that I've done. Actually, I've taken some of the water out of these tomatoes. All right, the first thing I've done, your tomatoes. First thing I did with these tomatoes, I cleaned and washed them, picked out any bad spots. I washed them twice. Washed and rinsed them 2-3 times. Then I dropped them into a pot of boiling water just to blanch the skins, just to separate the skins from the meat of the tomato for 45 seconds. Absolutely no longer than that, okay? Because if you go longer than that, you're going to end up with a mushy tomato. You don't want that, right? You want tomatoes, not mush. Okay, so we're going to show you, we're going to get right into this and show you how I do it. I left one tomato whole. I've already got all my other tomatoes processed. I'll show you that. But I'll show you how I take the skin off it, okay? So I just I take the top of the tomato right off. You can see that, yeah, just from when it starts to curve down. Once it stops curving down, that's where I take the top of the tomato off. I just discard the top. Now if there's a little bit of green part or something in there, I cut the center of that out because I don't want a little green bit in my canned tomatoes. Once you've done that, I'm just going to slide this out of the way over here for a second. That's just my debris pile, my skins and my cores, stems and tops and cores. Once you do that, you just take your tomato and you squeeze the skin and your tomato comes right out, right? So once you've done that and you've got a whole layer of them in the bowl, take some of your Mediterranean sea salt, you just sprinkle it over the top a little bit, and then you keep processing your tomatoes as I showed you. Add another layer, sprinkle another bit of salt over top of it, and what that'll do is that'll drag some of the moisture out of your tomatoes, right? We want to can tomatoes, not tomato juice. And I'll just show you right here. Like I put them in a strainer so it strains out, right? Because I don't want my tomatoes in that water. Like if you can see that, look at all the water and juice that's coming out of those tomatoes. I want tomatoes in the jar, not the juice, okay? So let's get right into this. We'll show you how to jar this up, all right? Okay, now we're going to take our fresh basil leaves, take a couple of them, we're going to place them down inside I like to place them just so that it presents nicely. Call me a freak. You know, half the part of food is if it looks good, you know, then mentally it already tastes good, right? Now this one's giving me a problem. It's messing with me. All right, I got a couple of leaves in there right now. Excuse me. So let's just start getting our tomatoes in right away, okay? You guys can see that. Am I in the right part there? You guys can see it? Okay, yeah, we're just going to start putting our tomatoes in. Plop. Right in. Now I'm using pint jars today. If you guys want to use quarts, by all means, go ahead and you can do that. You can do the exact same thing with quart jars. I actually don't have any quart jars. I got to go out and get some. So you want to get these tomatoes in here and you want to push them down. You want to fill up all the spaces, right? Now once you've got a bunch of your tomatoes in there, I'm working with one wet hand here and one dry hand. Once you got a bunch of your tomatoes in, sort of halfway filled up, you want to take some more of your basil leaves and just place them around the outside of your jar. Okay? Something like that. You don't want them sticking up over the top though, okay? Alright, we got some bay leaves. We got our jar half full. We got some bay leaves in there. Now for doing these pint-sized jars, you're going to want to use a teaspoon of your salt. My power just went out on me here. So, I'm not working with any light right now. Hang on a second, let me go get some emergency lighting and we can just carry on with this, okay? Well, my lights are back on. Just in time for me to get my emergency lighting out. We have lighting. And we don't need that lighting, so that's good. If we need it, we've got it. Okay, so we've got our tomatoes. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, life happens, right? Gotta have emergency lighting. That's gonna be another video. All right, so we got our jar half full. We've got some basil leaves down in the bottom, half full. We've got our teaspoon of Mediterranean sea salt in there, and we're going to keep introducing tomatoes into this. And now with these, you want to push them right down. You want to push them right down to fill up all those spaces, right? And the juices will start to come out of the tomatoes here, right? Which is why you didn't want all the other juices. Because once you start pushing it down, it's really going to fill this jar up. And you want to fill it right up. That may not be enough. It's starting to come out a little bit. Let me see if I can find a little wee piece here. That one right there. Perfect. Perfect for on the top. I made a bit of a mess there. That's okay. I'll just give that a wipe. Clean that up. And I'll look after that. Okay. So we got our beautiful jar of tomatoes with basil in it and Mediterranean salt. Nothing more. Nothing more required. The only thing left to do here now is take your damp rag, ever so slightly damp, with vinegar. I like to use vinegar. A lot of people don't when they don't use if they're not using an oil product or doing meats or anything like that in their foods that's going in their jars. They just use a damp cloth, damp with water. And I mean, it's an individual choice. I like to do this. And, you know, if I always do vinegar, it'll just remind me to do vinegar when it's crucial, okay? All right. So that's it. We've got our jar full. If you want to take your bamboo skewer or your debubbler, go ahead and, you know, poke around at it. Fish out some of the bubbles. If there's any little bubbles in there, get those out. You want to do that? No problem. There we go. Now it's simple. Lid and ring time. And we're going to be water bath canning these. And because we're using pint-sized jars for this, when you water bath can these, and you're only going to want to go finger tight, nothing more. You don't want to crank down on these. You want the canning process to create its own seal, okay? So there's no need to put any extra force on the tops of these jars to close them up. So let me just see if I can spin this camera around a little bit and see if I can get a view of. I'll just throw these into the pressure canner here if the camera and everything will cooperate. Oh, look, that's actually not bad. Let's see what's going on. Okay, I've got my water hot here already. It's hot, but it's not screaming hot. So I'm going to crank it right up to high right now. And I am going to go ahead and I'm going to put my my jars in. You don't want to drop cold jars into hot water because, you know, you don't want to shock cold glass. You know, you don't want to shatter your jars. You don't want to shatter your jars. You don't want to have an accident. Anything like that. Now this isn't a proper water bath canner. This is just a pot, which I use for water bath canning. It works fine. Now, when you put your water in, when you got your water in, your jars in, you want your water at least 1 inch above the top of your lids. Okay, so you see how that displaced and brought it to the top of the lids. I'm going to go ahead and add another jug of hot water into that, or at least until it's an inch above yeah, that's at least a good inch above. Okay. Alright, we've got our heat on max. We've got our jars in. Our water is covering it by at least 1 inch. And like I mentioned, or not sure if I have mentioned already, but processing these pint jars, 30 minutes from once it boils. If you're doing quart jars, 40 minutes from once it boils. Not from when you put them in. Put them in, bring it up to a boil, and then start your timer. Once the timer, once the boil happens, start your timer then. Okay. Now the only difference between this recipe, if you want to, if you're going to use quart jars instead of pint jars, you're going to want to use 1.5 teaspoons of your Mediterranean non-iodized salts. For this recipe, in these pint-sized jars, 1 teaspoon should be plenty. Plus whatever you sprinkle over top of the tomatoes just to render some of the water out of it. Okay. So that's what I'm up to today. After work, at home, busy. As you saw on the table, I'm going to have some more to process tomorrow. And I'm sure when I go out into the garden tomorrow, I'm probably going to have another bowl full of tomatoes to be doing. So I'll be doing that. I've got a few baskets of cucumbers over on the table over there that I'm going to be making some garlic dill spears out of. So I'll probably be doing a video of that as well. I got 5 heads of cabbage in here to turn into sauerkraut. So I'm going to be a busy guy here for a short while. Alright? So I just wanted to show you guys what I was up to tonight. I hope everyone's staying well and safe. You know, if you guys have gardens and you know, I hope they're fruitful for you. And if you guys are canning tomatoes, you know, leave a comment down below to let me know how you guys are doing it different, or, you know, if you guys got neat ideas or, you know, anything like that. So anyways, just thought I'd share this with you guys. Hope everyone stays well and safe. This is going to be North Shore Preparedness. Out for now.